Welcome to 2019, guys. I hope you had a tremendous 2018. I'm Michael Baxey. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you're into anything automobiles, this is a place to be. We got some exciting stuff coming up for you this year, and I want to introduce you to my new channel car. I got myself a brand new 2018 Honda Civic Type R. This has become my new daily driver, my new channel car, my new project car. This is my everything. If you guys didn't catch a video that I put together as to why I was looking for a new car, if you didn't already know, I had a GT350 before this. You can see that conversation in the video up in this description up top, right there, if you're interested. Otherwise, let's jump right into it. Oh man, I can feel it already. I can sense the comments I'm gonna get. You did what? You changed from a Ford Shelby GT350 to 2018 Honda Civic Type R. Some big changes this year for me and for the channel. I hope you join us. Let's look at the car. All right, so first and foremost, beauty is oftentimes in the eye of the beholder, and there was a huge part that I was struggling with when I ultimately chose the Honda Civic Type R. And probably the most controversial thing about it is the styling. It's actually a pretty awesome looking car. And the more time I spend with it, the more the looks grow on me. But there was a very big requirement for me to really dive into this car and consider it for a daily driver and something I'm going to be taking my kid around in. And that's that the styling, as much as I like it, I had to figure out a way to tone it down some. And so for me, the only color that was going to make any sense whatsoever was black. If you guys have seen this car in other colors, the blue, the red, the championship white, which is a huge consideration because of the racing heritage behind that color, I couldn't do it. And the reason why I couldn't do any of those other colors is because all of the black accent pieces on those colored cars and the championship white are too contrasty for me. You know, the white really contrasts hard with the black, as does the red and the blue. And the gray, you know, I was just kind of over the whole gray thing. And even that showed the contrasty black accents a little more than I wanted. So styling-wise, I really like the car, but, you know, I'm a grown man with a child. I was looking to tone it down a little bit, so black was the color for me. Very cool car, you know, and it kind of makes me laugh at this point. Some of the critics out there that are talking about how crazy the styling is, and the thing that comes up more often than not is this wing, which really makes me laugh. People say, oh, that ridiculous huge wing on the back. Well, hold on a second. People talk about this ridiculous wing, and they forget that some of the coolest cars in history that anybody would be happy to have a pretty good size rear wing on it. I mean, the most notable probably is, you know, the MK4 Toyota Supra Turbo. I mean, that thing had a big wing on it. And you know, probably back then, from what I remember, because I did have one of those cars, is people were talking about the shopping cart wing on the back, and it was a very critical styling point on the vehicle, which I get. But you can't tell me, okay, here's this car, it's 2018, 2017, 2019, and this car's got a big wing on it, and that's the thing you're going to point out. Give me a break. I mean, what about the Ferrari F40? That had a gigantic wing on it. What about the original Acura Integra Type R? That had a big shopping cart wing on it. There's even some older American muscle car examples with huge shopping cart wings on them. And the name escapes me of the model. Forgive me, guys. But my point is, even the Subaru STI has got a big wing on it. So really, what is it about the styling of this car that people are really complaining about? And I think, to be fair, it's not really the wing. I think it's a combination of everything, and the wing is the most obvious thing that sticks out, so that's the thing that people kind of point to. And I get it, and I totally agree. The styling is wild. It does take some getting used to. The whole deal with the triple tailpipes and the vortex generators in the back that everyone always talks about, and then you put that with the big wing, and then with the red accents, and then with if you have a white or red or blue car, and then you have those black accents that are sticking out like a sore thumb. I get it. I totally get it. So styling wise, it had to be black for me. That was the reason for my choice, and I love it. I mean, this car is awesome. So let's go for a drive now. I'll give you my initial driving impressions and some closing thoughts. Let's go. All right, so my initial thoughts here. One of the first things I noticed, not really sure why, but when I first started driving my Honda Civic Type R, is the default drive mode. Doug DeMuro would call this a quirk, but what's interesting is the EPA bases your average miles per gallon on whatever the default driving mode is in a car. And for most vehicles, any modern vehicles with selectable drive modes usually default to some kind of comfort mode or eco mode so it can get the best fuel economy, and that's what they report to the EPA, or that's where the EPA bases its findings. But here we are in the Honda Civic Type R, and we're defaulting to sport mode. I mean, I'm not complaining because that's probably where I put it anyways, damn near 100% of the time. So that works for me. I mean, sport mode is great. And again, this isn't going to be a heavy Honda Civic Type R review, but I will be touching on some of the things that I've heard in other Honda Civic Type R reviews, just to kind of give you my thoughts on it, and especially coming from a Ford Shelby GT350 and what some of the differences are there. So styling on the inside, it's kind of like the outside, I think it's something that actually grows on you. It's really cool looking in here, and sure, stuff is kind of plasticky, but what do you expect for a car that's $35,000, $36,000, $37,000 if you're lucky enough to get it at MSRP? But what do you expect? I mean, my GT350 was $60,000 before dealer markup, which is not quite twice the price of this, but it almost is. So sure, I expect that car to feel a little more premium in some senses than this would be. I don't expect all of the same things, but having said that, everything, the fit and finish in this car is terrific. I mean, it's everything you expect from a Honda. All the panels are tight, nothing rattles, nothing shakes. Of course it's a brand new car, but I've been in new cars that have had some squeaks and little weird noises coming out of it, and that's not the case here. So this is a daily driver for me. It has been, it will be. That's a whole big part of the consideration and why I needed a 4-door, so I can both accommodate my daily driving needs and have a baby seat in the back for the baby. So going back to drive modes, I live in the Bay Area, and there's a, you know, the roads suck here. But having said that, sport mode is fine. It's not overly stiff. It's, I would even say sport mode in the Honda Civic Type R is very similar to sport mode in the GT350 with the MagnaRide. And that's something I'll talk a little bit more about as well, because in, you know, if I switch this to comfort mode, if I have it in comfort mode in the GT350, I will say that the comfort mode with the MagnaRide in the Ford GT350 is a little softer, a little more compliant than the comfort mode in this car, but marginally so. You know, so it's very drivable on a daily basis. This car is very comfortable, even with the very aggressively bolstered seats that hold you in very, very well. It's still a very comfortable seat. It's every bit as comfortable as the standard seat in my GT350, and I did not have the upgraded race seats in that car. I had the regular standard seats. These are just as comfortable as those, but I would even say these support better when you're driving aggressively and making aggressive turns, and even those seats did, which is really interesting to me. I think Honda did a great job with the seats in this car. The other thing that I noticed is with the shifter, and this is going to sound a little controversial because just about every review I read about this car says, oh, what an incredible shifter. It's so precise and it's really flicky and just great short throws. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not, okay? But I've even heard some of those reviews say this is the best shifter I've ever felt, and that's where I have to disagree. It is a great shifter. It's very easy to use. The clutch modulation is great. It's very easy to figure out where the clutch catches in the depression of the pedal, and it's very easy to shift. And yes, they are short, precise shifts. All that, in my opinion, is very true. But where I have to disagree is this is not the best manual transmission I've ever even personally owned. I've had a lot of different cars. So I will even say that my Ford GT350, the shifter was even better in that car. I would put the GT350 at the top of my list for shifters that I've personally used in my personal vehicles in the past. I would say the Honda S2000 that I've also had, 2001, I'd say the shifter in that car is not as good as the GT350, but still better than this one. And then I'd probably put this shifter at third, which is pretty damn good considering the number of cars that I've driven. It is a huge difference coming from 526 horsepower to 306. Now, don't let the numbers fool you. I think that's the biggest mistake you can do when you're looking into buying a Honda Civic Type R. Let's do a quick run here. Man, you know, and that's just the thing. The car pulls really hard from when the boost comes on all the way to red line. The fact that it's front wheel drive is totally irrelevant. The performance of this vehicle far outweighs the fact that it's front wheel drive. And I actually like that they stuck to front wheel drive because it's true to Type R history, right? The chassis in this car is just incredible. It is, I can't imagine how firm the chassis in this car is. as compared to most other vehicles that I've driven or owned. But the suspension, the chassis is so stiff that it allows the suspension to do all of the work. And the suspension is just pure genius how well they tuned it. I mean, it absorbs the bumps really well, but on a performance standpoint, the car corners flat, and it makes all the use out of whatever available traction there is out of the tires that are in this car. Inside of the drive modes, there isn't a louder exhaust setting like there are in so many high performance vehicles now. I mean, I had it in the GT350. There's a bunch of Mercedes-Benz, AMGs. Of course, now I'm talking about, 100,000 plus cars. But there we go. We're back to the price point argument. For the money, if you need 4 doors and you want something fun with a manual transmission, I don't know that there's a better option for you out there than the Honda Civic Type R. I'm making it official right now. And that's, once I arrived at that conclusion in my head, that's the biggest reason why I just went ahead and pulled the trigger. So I've totally fallen in love with this car. It was sad to see the GT350 go, but I don't regret it 1 second. This car is going to be so perfect for me and my needs. It will be a track day car. This car is going to be my everything car. And I have future mods planned for it. So guys, stay tuned, plug into the channel, hit the subscribe button, because I am going to be doing a bunch of this stuff to this car. I just want to close out my thoughts today on this vehicle. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this video. This is the end of my initial impression on the 2018 Honda Civic Type R. If you guys enjoy anything automotive whatsoever, again, please hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. My name is Michael Baxey, and I'm out.